Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. I'm Chuggy2009, and tonight we're going to be comparing some stick electrodes out here. So this is an idea for a video that I hope you guys like. I ran it past my Facebook fans. They seem to think it was awesome. And so if you enjoy this, let me know in the comments what other welding-ish related things you'd like me to compare, and I'll see what I can put together for you. So this is our first ever stick electrode comparison, so I figured why not start out with some 6011. So what I've gone ahead and done is I went to Lowe's and I went to Tractor Supply and I bought 5 pounds of Hobart 6011 and I bought a 5-pound box of the Lincoln stuff. And tonight we're pretty much just going to put them head to head. And well, as you can see, I've got all these little 4-inch sections of steel out here, which are actually still warm. I actually just cut these out a little while ago. And both of these boxes are brand new. They're sealed and they're plastic wrapped. And they're, you know, as new as any box of 6011 will ever be. So I'm just going to open these up here. And now some of the things we're going to compare in this video are the price. We're going to take a look at that. I've got a bunch of stuff written out here which I'll show y'all. We're going to compare how these things run on DC and how they run on AC. And we're going to weld some dirty steel, a little bit of painted steel, and I'll give you my thoughts on all this. Here's our first thing worth noting. The Lincoln electrodes come in this fine little cardboard box, which is totally useless once you've used all the electrodes. However, it's a heck of a lot easier to open. And it's kind of a trick to cut the tape which seals the Hobart box with a knife like this without impaling yourself. But the flip side is once you've burned up all the electrodes, there's no shortage of stuff you can keep in these boxes here. I actually have a whole shelf on my shelf over there of them. So, okay. Let's take a look at this. Okay, so it's actually more like a partial shelf, but this is what I just mentioned. Not really something you think about when you're buying stick electrodes, but these little boxes are handy as crap. Alright, now moving on to price. All of these prices and the electrodes themselves are from a couple of big box stores, like I said. If you're looking for Lincoln 6011 and you go to Lowe's to buy it, you can only get 5-pound boxes there. I think Home Depot's the same way. And one of those boxes will run you $12.97, which works out to $2.60 a pound. But more on the per pound part later. Yeah, there we go. Now, if you want the Hobart electrodes and you go to Tractor Supply, a 5-pound box of those costs a little bit more. It's $14.99. And but the cool thing is, you can buy various different sizes of Hobart electrodes. You can get the 5-pound boxes, obviously. This is what a 5-pounder here is going to look like, and then you can get 10-pound boxes of the stuff, or you can get 25-pound, you know, small crates of the stuff. And this is actually how I buy all of my 7018. It's a lot cheaper. I mean, the more of it you buy, the less you pay per pound. And let's take a look at that. If you buy the stuff 10 pounds at a time, a 10-pound box costs $26.99, which is still a little bit more than the Lincoln stuff. However, if you're going to burn a lot of it and you decide to buy a 25-pound crate, that works out to $1.79 a pound, which is significantly less than the Lincoln. So, in our great comparison here, I'll call the price a wash because for smaller quantities, the Lincoln's going to be cheaper. For larger quantities, Hobart's the way to go. And plus, those are both pretty small differences, so I don't know if I'd really base my, my choice here on price alone. Now that being said, let's come over here, fire up the good old precision TIG. And we're going to do our first test here on DC electrode positive. Well, yes, already in stick mode. Crank it up. I think this stuff, I'll start with the Lincoln because that's what I've been using in the shop lately. I've used a lot of both of them, to be honest. But I'll start off with this at about 85 amps. That's a not a bad ballpark number. And one thing I will add, I'm going to run both of these where they run best, seeing as though, even though they're the same type of electrode, they're from different manufacturers and they're thus different products, they'll probably run a few amps apart. I don't expect the difference to be great, but I do expect it to be there. So I just got done running these joints, and what did I discover? Well, in my humble opinion, the Hobart does run a little bit smoother on DC. There's more slag, but it's a much smoother arc. It feels a lot more refined and less violent, and overall I like it. Now another thing worth noting is at the end of these 4-inch long joints I had a lot more electrode left with the Hobart than I did with the Lincoln. So now we're going to see how the slag removal compares. Okay, now what I've gone ahead and done is I took 2 of the joints I ran and I tacked them to my table here, and we are going to try and see how they clean up. We'll start on this side with the Hobart first. Pretty good. Could be better, but I'm going to attribute most of that to me standing all the way over here to try and stay out of the camera's way. Most of the slag seems to come right up. Run down these toe lines a little bit. Now I'll just take my wire brush. There. Not hard to clean up at all. Leaves a moderately nice looking bead, I guess. Okay, let's try the Lincoln. We're pretty much going to try and just do the same thing here. Okay, let's hit it with the wire brush. Not all that bad either. I would say that in terms of slag removal, these two are pretty much dead even. Okay, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, so now I guess it's pretty much everyone's favorite part of the video, where I basically come out here with a hammer and beat the crap out of what I've just welded. So first off, we have these two joints run with Hobart electrodes, and we'll see how they hold up. Yep, that's done. Okay, could be better. Definitely could be worse though. Do the other one here. There it goes. That was a lot of difference for such similar welds. Next up, Lincoln. And here we go. That was pretty impressive for being 6'11". Do the other one. Just kind of snapped. Now another thing to keep in mind too is this is a, where does it say here, 4-pound hammer, and I'm swinging it, not really putting all that much effort into it because I don't want to get worn out, and you know, kind of taking it easy like that. Hopefully I can make everything nice and repeatable. Wow, let's take a look at the results. Well, you know what, YouTube? We saw a lot more difference there than I thought we were going to see. Basically, with the Hobart electrode, it took 12 hits to break my first weld, and 18 to break the second, which averages out to 15, which I guess it could be worse. The Lincoln, on the other hand, the first weld took more than twice what the Hobart weld did. It took 25 hits to break, the second one took 21, and that averages out to 23. So, although I would say that the Hobart runs a little bit smoother on DC, the Lincoln is definitely, you know, produces a much stronger weld, and so for DC performance, I think that one goes to the Lincoln. Okay, so now we just have to hammer apart these AC welds here, and guess we might as well start over here with the Lincolns. not bad. That is really not bad at all. Okay, one down, one to go. That's pretty impressive, to be honest. Okay, let's try the Hobarts. Here we go. There you go. Alright, that's the last of the AC welds. Well, that, YouTube, was pretty impressive. Now, I established in an episode of Stretch's Useless Welding Related Fact of the Day that AC welds, AC stick welds at least, with some types of electrodes are stronger than their DC counterparts, and 6011 apparently truly is an AC electrode. Just look at these results. Had I not done this test just there and then, I never would have believed this had someone told me. But regardless, the Hobart, which is traditionally not as strong, at least in our test, the first weld took 26 hits to break, the other one took 30, which gives us an average of 28, I believe. The Lincoln took 32 and 30, which averages out to 31. And I mean, just look at these, especially, I think the Hobart runs especially better on AC than it does on DC. And regardless of the fact that when you're actually welding, there's not, aside from the sound, they both run really well on either polarity. The Hobart is pretty impressive because we have 26 and 30 here, whereas when we did this on DC, we have 12 and 18. I mean, that's a pretty big jump right there. So, still though, this one was really close, but I think the Lincoln still, you know, I still have to give the nod to the Lincoln for AC performance. Now, one other thing I want to try here. And, sometimes in real life, you just can't get your metal very clean, or clean it all for whatever reason, despite the fact that you should. Don't let me, you know, understate that enough. Understate, I think. It's probably about 10:30, 11 o'clock local time, and I've had a long day. But regardless, I have here the nastiest piece of steel I could find on the farm that I hadn't already scrapped in years gone by. And we are going to cut this up, weld it back together, and see which electrode performs better on a nice, dirty, dusty, rusty hunk of crappy steel. I think we're going to do this on AC because, as we just found out, AC 6011 welds are stronger than their DC counterparts. Let's do it. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so yeah, it's starting to get a little bit late out here. I figured we'll just do one more test. Basically, this is obviously the dirty, crappy steel test. Right here, this is the Hobart electrode. Over here, this is the one we ran with the Lincoln 6011. Both of these were done at the same amperage, which just so happens to be 88 amps on, you know, AC. Let's do the Lincoln first. Well, that would be why you clean your metal, ideally. Alright, let's see the Hobart next. Well, how about that, YouTube? Well, you guys, if our test tonight has taught us anything, it's that the Lincoln 6011 is a far superior 6011 to its Hobart counterpart. Now, I thought this test was going to be closer than it was. As you can see, it's a little bit of a landslide here, but you know, Hobart 6011 really is not a bad electrode. That's what I learned to run 6011 on out here in the shop on my good old AC 225 back in the day. Don't really miss that thing though. And you know, it's what I used pretty much from when I started welding just up until a couple months ago here. Even the high school I went to that taught welding, we did a little bit with 6011. Pretty much just messed around with it some, because I mean, we had lots of 5P plus 6010, good 6010 capable stick welders, so that's obviously what we used most of the time. But you know, we used Hobart 6011 because that was cheaper from wherever the hell my school bought things from. But regardless, I've started running the Lincoln out here. You know, I started messing around with it a couple months ago, and I've really enjoyed running the stuff. And but still, in some comparisons, one's a clear victor because the other is pure crap, and that's not the case here. They're both pretty good stick electrodes, but you'll be seeing a lot more Lincoln 6011 in my videos. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. It's been fun to make, and if you guys want to see more welding comparisons of various kinds, just leave me some ideas down in the comments section or over on the Facebook page. And anyway, thanks for watching. Have a nice night, everyone.